Just a few months ago, the people in this room and millions of other black Americans played their own part in the American story when you went to the voting booths and restored a nice, good, solid government. And there's a guy that really helped. There's a man that really helped. You really are great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes. President Trump, he's just a machine. The man never stops. He's holding events with the press to the point they got to tag team the press. They have to slap out and get replaced by another member of the press because Trump is wearing them down. And a very lovely Friday to you all. We continue to be located at 888-630-9625 on your telephonic system. We have CPAC going on. You know, the conservative political action and all that at, what's it called? National Harbor, Washington National Harbor, big complex just south of the city of Washington along the mighty Potomac River. A great complex for the event. And a great complex in many ways, and a wonderful event, a great event, CPAC. In the meantime, President Trump chugs along. Elon Musk, Elon Musk has been everywhere, hasn't he? He was at CPAC yesterday. He sat on the stage and did a Q&A with one of the great Newsmax anchors, as a matter of fact, and it was a ton of fun. And you might have seen the giant chainsaw, the huge chainsaw, because it was gifted by Argentine President Milei to Elon Musk, to a giant, I think, a 4-foot chainsaw, so that he could cut the bureaucracy. He could cut through the bureaucracy. You're going to need a chainsaw. It's gotten so thick around here. And the Democrat Party, they are throwing themselves in front of the chainsaw and anything else to try to stop any control over government. They want more government. That includes the Washington Post and the New York Times and CNN and the rest of them. They're the defenders of the bureaucracy. They're not holding government's feet to the fire. They're throwing stuff into the government bonfire instead, and it's mostly our money. Amazing stuff. I've got to tell you, the Washington Post today, their front page, first of all, they have a parade of jihadis. Hamas returns bodies of 4. See, 4 bodies. But IFD says 1 does not belong to a hostage, because they murdered little children and the mothers of little children. Then they gave back a body of the mother of the little children they murdered, but it's not the body of the mother of the little children that they murdered. They claimed that they murdered the mother, but now we don't know who they murdered in this case, because the savages, the blood-drenched, gargling in the blood of innocent savages from a medieval hell, troglodytes slithering out of a crack in the earth, they're Hamas. And the Democrats, they go out in the streets and they chant in favor of Hamas. They attack Jews in Brooklyn in favor of Hamas. They attack Jewish families in Los Angeles in favor of Hamas. And they're all Democrats. Every filthy, rotten, stinking one of them. Democrats. From the river to the sea, they chant, let's wipe Israel off the map. Just like, the Ayatollahs in Tehran and of course, Hamas in the Gaza. I think that the 1.8 million Gazans should be pushed into the Sinai Peninsula, and they should be left there to wander for 40 years. Left there to make it a kind of a biblical thing. They can think about stuff. I'm not sure if it'll go very far, but it might be worth it. Just push them into the Sinai and let them wander for 40 years. It's a Jewish, Old Testament reference there. The front page of the Washington Post also today. This is their lead story, upper right-hand corner, A sectional. Many of Trump's acts not popular, at least at the Washington Post in the newsroom, not very popular there. Poll, : They put their poll right next to the colon. How about that? That reminds me of the transgender pole vaulter in Maine. Did you see that story? Democrats love transgender pole vaulters. I found it especially ironic that this young man beating young women in a sporting competition, I found it particularly ironic that it was pole vaulting. I don't know why I found that to be ironic, but I did. So back to the Washington Post. Many of Trump's acts not popular. Poll, : Most say he exceeds authority. They're just, again, talking to people in the newsroom. because that's what they do. They're owned by Jeff Bezos, the centibillionaire. He is one of the richest people in the history of the world. He bought the Washington Post like some people buy a new shirt, and then he's used it as a corrupt tool for the Democrat Party. The Democrats, they want to look out for him. And the Post continues, about half support mass deportations of migrants. About half. They, I don't know, they're reading their own poll. So once again, it's wrong, and they've got a colon right next to it. A lot of poll stuff going on today, but that's not important. Well, and I love this just below the fold, across the middle of the A section, page 1 today. President is expected to wrest control of USPS. We speak in code here. That's the U.S. Postal Service. Wait a minute. The President of the United States has to wrest control of the Postal Service? Isn't that part of the federal government? Isn't he the President of the United States? Maybe I misunderstand the way absolutely everything works in the world and in the country. Either that or the Washington Post does. I would suggest that B is the correct answer here. Man, oh man. And they're very upset, also on the front page above the fold. Trump suggests taking over the district. That would be good. Honestly, if Mexico took over the district, it would probably operate more smoothly. I don't know how many criminals they have to have. Oh, speaking of which, there was another arrest because the former safety official in Washington, D.C. charged D.C. bribery case linked to ONSE. ONSE. See, everything is code. They got to abbreviate everything and make fake acronyms out of them and stuff. Agency awarded grants to violence interrupters. They have violence interrupters. That's what they do. A former high-ranking official in a D.C. government agency tasked with reducing gun violence has been charged with bribery. Wow, that's hard to believe, isn't it? According to a document filed in D.C. federal court, it's the second bribery case linked to that agency and follows the August arrest of a city council member accused of accepting cash to steer violence prevention contracts. How are they doing, Michael, in preventing violence? How's that going? Not so good, I think. Prosecutors say that Dana McDaniel, who was deputy director of the city's Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, ONSE, excellent acronym. You guys really need to all be fired. Accepted at least $10,000 in cash from an associate in exchange for agreeing to use her position to steer contracts toward the associate's business. No kidding. That's hard to believe, isn't it? Former D.C. City Council member Trayon White, who thinks that the Jewish Rothschild family make it snow in Washington because that'll help them take over the city when they buy it. That's your Democrat Party. From the river to the sea, as they say, was previously arrested on federal allegations that he took payoffs in exchange for promising to influence contracts at ONSE. Coincidence? Well, it might be a coincidence. They're just all criminals. That's one of the problems that we have with these people. Oh, and in addition to that, because it all goes together, I like to sew it together because everything does go together. It's a Democrat world. We're just living in it, right? But, they're one of their beloved murderers. You know how the Democrats love murderers. They love Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione, of course, murdered a healthcare CEO on the sidewalks of New York. And the Democrats applauded it, and they loved it. And they immediately started raising money for him, and they want to date him. When I say date him, wink, wink, I think you know what I mean. The Democrats, they've got a lot of perversions. Sexual perversions, gender perversions, children, keep them away from the children, for God's sake. They also love violence, mob street violence, which they normalized long before January 6th came along. January 6th never would have happened if the Democrats and the media hadn't normalized all that, and the media told us that it was mostly peaceful when we were watching cities burn. Without all of that as the setting the table, the precursors, that never would have happened. But in any case, back to Luigi Mangione, because Luigi Mangione, the CEO killer, it's on video, he's pleading not guilty because he figures a Democrat jury might just give him an award, maybe run him for Congress, give him the Presidential Medal of Freedom, things like that, because they love murder. but Luigi Mangione to appear in New York City court in United Healthcare CEO murder. That's today. He's going to appear today, Friday, in court in the murder of the United Healthcare CEO. And the Democrats are raising more money than ever for Luigi Mangione because they're so perverted and demented and inclined toward violence, of course. But ABC Fake News, Luigi Mangione, they love him, set to appear in court in New York State case on Friday. And the headlines were, but that's not really the most important part of it. The most important part of it is this. Newsweek fake magazine. Luigi Mangione fundraiser hits new milestone. I'm sorry, the Luigi Mangione fundraiser hits a new milestone? Sure, you bet your bottom dollar. And Luigi Mangione legal defense fundraiser reaches $500,000 milestone while people are supporting United Healthcare CEO's accused killer because the Democrat Party loves murder. They're the left. They're not liberals. And I've got to say there are a number of stories associated with this that are worthy of note. And I want to hit on at least some of them because these people, can I just tell you, this Democrat Party, And here's the Reuters news agency today, just coincidentally. DOJ probes United Healthcare. United Healthcare was that was your did your chair collapse? I see. Everybody's blowing their nose around here. Honk. Sounded like geese flying through. It's not what you thought it was, though. DOJ probes United Healthcare's Medicare billing practices. Wall Street Journal reports now that shares tumble in United Healthcare because let's not lose sight of who the bad guy is here. The bad guy is the CEO that was murdered, and the hero of the story is Luigi Mangione, who the Democrats all want to date their daughters. They all, hey, here's my daughter, Luigi Mangione. Don't shoot her, please, but take her out to dinner and a movie. So DOJ probes United Healthcare Medicare billing practices. Wall Street Journal reports that it's, oh, no, their billing practices are bad. See, Luigi Mangione, he was just ahead of the curve. He knew even before any investigation that they were the bad guys because the Democrat Party teaches bloodlust, from the river to the sea. And amazing stuff. So the Reuters news agency, the U.S. Department of Justice has launched an investigation into United Healthcare's Medicare billing practices in recent months, maybe just since the murder of their CEO. That's when they really got out of control, perhaps. The Wall Street Journal reported on Friday, citing people familiar with the matter. They talked to people familiar with the matter, Michael. Are they anonymous people familiar with the matter? Are they nameless, faceless people familiar with the matter? How familiar with the matter are they? Shares in the company fell nearly 10% in pre-market trading. Buy, because, it's going to come back up. Shares of other health insurers also fell before the bell. Well, naturally. They knew people are running a scam on you, and it's going to drop, they're going to buy, and then the shares are going to go back up, and they're going to make more money. And it's Nancy Pelosi's probably right in there with it. She's going to make another $100 million or something like that. Nothing to see there, though. The Wall Street Journal isn't looking into Nancy Pelosi's hundreds of millions of dollars. The new civil fraud investigation is examining United Healthcare's practices for recording diagnoses that trigger extra payments to its Medicare Advantage plans, including at physician groups the insurance giant owns. Oh, no. See, they own, and then they charge them. And it's, well, look, if they're scamming, then they should be held accountable, as should Nancy Pelosi and Democrats in Washington. Amazing stuff. DOJ and United Healthcare did not immediately respond to Reuters' request for comment. Yeah, I bet they didn't. Medicare Advantage plans are offered by private insurers who are paid a set rate by the U.S. government, set by Congress, presumably, to manage health care for older people looking for extra benefits not covered in the regular Medicare coverage. Hey, what's not covered in the regular Medicare coverage? And isn't it supposed to be you pay your whole life, and then It's not covered. It must be a government job. So then you got to buy more. But I'm retired. How am I supposed to afford all this stuff? Screw you. Look at Nancy Pelosi's Wall Street trading. And, people follow her Wall Street trades and just do what she does. Amazing stuff. The department had also sued to block United Healthcare's $3.3 billion acquisition. Sure. Of what is it called? Amidisis. Sure, amidisis probably. Citing concerns that the deal would reduce competition in the home health services market. Yeah, but the Democrats are raising so much money for the murderer. You just think that they might inspire more of this. What do you think? How many, they attack and kill police officers and suicide attacks. Suicide attack against members of Congress. Donald Trump shot through the ear. Luigi Mangione kills a healthcare CEO. And the Democrats, what do? They set up fundraising groups for him. And they break records. There's something terribly wrong with the Democrat Party. Yes, there is. They got a lot of tranny stuff today, too. See, you see the trannies, you see this? They even live in transitional housing. Have you seen this, the trannies? It's terrible in California. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yes, your Democrat Party. And now the story is, will the New York jurors just find Luigi Mangione not guilty because they're like Hamas? The Democrat Party is closer to Hamas than they are to John F. Kennedy, for example, who would not recognize today's Democrat Party. Even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says that. All right, let's grab a real quick call. Let's go to Joe, calling from Orange, Virginia, where people jump out of airplanes. Joseph, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how are you?
Great, Joe. What do you know?
Well, I want to say thank you, and it's the first time I called, and I love listening to you. I even listen to you when we go on vacation. I'm sitting on the beach drinking a frosty beverage.
That's excellent. Thanks to Al Gore's amazing internet and the patriarchy.
That's right. That's right. So I was thinking for the Chris Plant store, maybe making a shirt for Doge, something I came up with the other day. I hadn't heard it anywhere else. Deleting obvious government extortion.
Deleting obvious government extortion. Doge. And a T-shirt suggestion. And coffee mugs, too, for the Chris Plant Store. I love that.
There you go. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Beautiful, chilly day in Orange, Virginia today, huh?
It is. It is.
A little bit chilly. All right, I like it. Joe, thank you very much for the suggestion. Yeah, CNN is having gender issues today because they're Democrats, and they're all having gender issues at this point. Social media is not for everyone. First of all, just as friendly fire isn't, and common sense isn't, and the Democratic Party isn't, social media also isn't. Social media isn't social by any stretch. It's very much the opposite. But a woman who is too busy on social media, who calls herself that blonde girl, she's making a bit of news because she apparently, allegedly, reportedly lost her job, and she blames Elon Musk because, when you're downsizing government, again, you got to keep in mind that Mark Zuckerberg announced that Meta would be downsizing their workforce. Lifelong Democrat gives hundreds of millions of dollars to the Democrats to corrupt the country. He's got hundreds of billions, private airliners. What does he care? Mountaintop layers, eagle's nest. Yeah, that's a Hitler reference. It is. And, never mind that. But he said he's cutting down his workforce at Meta by 4%. And he said he's going to cut the least efficient employees that he has. That sounds like Department of Government Efficiency, right? Because they're looking for efficiencies. But in the government, this has never been done before. So growing pains, it's like, throwing your baby out the window and seeing if your baby can fly. But the Democrats are absolutely against cutting government at all. At the same time, NBC News is cutting staff. CNN is cutting staff. The Washington Post cutting staff. And, of course, Mark Zuckerberg at Meta cutting staff. And that's all fine. Nobody, even the people at CNN, they're like, yeah, we're slashing staff around here by a much greater percentage than the federal government is having staff cut. The FAA, they all went crazy and tried to blame Trump for a plane crash in Toronto, Canada, because 400 employees, some are even saying 300 employees, were cut from the FAA, which has more than 45,000 employees. So that is fewer than 0.1%. Mark Zuckerberg said he's cutting 4%, not 0.1%, but 4%. And by the way, the Clinton-Gore administration cut a much greater number when they were in the White House from the federal government workforce. But one of the great luxuries the Democrats have is that we have a news media that has the memory of an advanced Alzheimer's patient. They remember absolutely nothing. But let me get back to that blonde girl for a second. She's making news all over the world. The Hindustan Times has a story on that blonde girl on social media. That's her handle, if you will, on social media. U.S. woman who bragged about WFH. See, everything is abbreviated, right? That could mean a lot of things, but no, it just means work from home or working from home. I'm WFH today. I'm never WFH because, what I do for my jobs. It's an in-person kind of situation. But U.S. woman who bragged about WFH job fired under Doge cuts, Elon Musk reacts. That's kind of fun, isn't it? Because he's always a lot of fun. A woman who bragged about the convenience of working from home has lost her job in the federal restructuring of the U.S. government being spearheaded by Elon Musk. How dare he, right? An American woman who once bragged about the convenience of working from home lost her job, federal restructuring, and she's very upset. Since President Donald Trump was inaugurated in January of 2025, in case you've forgotten, see, they expect everybody's forgotten everything from a month ago. Tiny little brains, Democrats. His administration has undertaken significant efforts to reduce federal government spending and workforce size. That's one of the ways you might do that, you see. Central to his initiative is his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by tech billionaire. They pretend that they don't like billionaires, but they love billionaires. They're all about billionaires. They got billionaires all over the place. They're everywhere. As long as they're Democrat billionaires, they're happy with it, right? And so under Musk's leadership, DOGE has aggressively, not unaggressively, not passively, aggressively pursued cost-cutting measures across various federal agencies. Several federal agencies have started mass layoffs that have affected more than 10,000 federal workers, according to USA Today. And if you can't believe them, who can you believe? An executive order signed on Tuesday, Donald Trump also instructed federal departments and agencies to make large-scale reductions in force. This is over and above the estimated 75,000 workers who accepted Trump's buyout offer of 8 months of pay and benefits in exchange for their immediate resignation. And again, the Clinton administration cut more than 400,000 government employees, and the news media applauded it because they all voted for Bill Clinton and Al Gore, and they wanted to date them, and many of them did, I can assure you. Isn't that amazing? So one person who was affected by the ongoing cuts was a woman who goes by That Blonde Girl on X, which is owned by Elon Musk. See, isn't that kind of ironic? In a post shared on February 15th, she wrote, "I was terminated from my dream job with the Children's Bureau yesterday due to federal restructuring orders / Doge. I am unemployed for the first time since I was 15 years old. And honestly, that's terrible and it's horrible. And I'd never like to see anybody lose their job unless they like shoot a CEO on the sidewalk or something. But that's when the Democrats really applaud you and raise money for you, because the Democrat Party is very unwell. So the Post and her termination came weeks after the American woman bragged online about having no meetings all day as she worked from home. In a post dated October of 2024, she had written, "Didn't have any meetings today, so I've been wearing my jammies all day, but now I have a meeting in 30 minutes, so putting on a hoodie." So that's it, putting on a hoodie. See, there's a senator from Pennsylvania that made all this okay, I think, putting on a hoodie. Eventually, that WFH life gonna getcha, she wrote, because she had to put on a hoodie for a meeting that she had in 30 minutes. And then she lost her job. And I'm sorry that she lost her job. I really am. I don't know what the Children's Bureau does. I think it might be a movie on Netflix or something. But so a screenshot contrasting the two wildly different posts is going viral on X. It's going viral, don't you know? Because Elon Musk, the head of Doge and a vocal supporter of return to office. It's return to office. It's like they don't want Jews returning to Israel, and they don't want to return to office. They want Hamas to win. So he reacted to the post with a single emoji that nevertheless spoke volumes about his stance on the issue. A single emoji. Isn't that he just did a single emoji? Isn't that because that can say a lot, I guess. So the job and budget cuts, along with other policies, have sparked massive protests against Trump and Musk in parts of the United States, a lot in Washington, D.C. But the very upset and he sent, it's just his emoji is one of those round yellow faces and kind of grimacing. The emoji is grimacing. I think I've said this before, but I've never sent an emoji. That's right. I've never, hey, I think I'll send a yellow round face with a mustache. I've never done that. But Elon Musk reposted the woman's tweet and put a little yellow round face with kind of look a furrowed brow kind of look on his face. But this woman, it's like, oh, I work from home. I'm sitting in my pajamas all day long. I've got a conference call soon. I'm going to have to put on a hoodie. Oh, no. And then she lost her job. Classic example of, somebody that we're paying with our dollars. I get up before the sun every day. I work until long after the sun goes down every day to pay my taxes, and that's good and fine. But not when you find out that they're stealing. And like Stacey Abrams, I shared the story yesterday, the perennial loser and election denier in Georgia, who was given $2 billion after she opened a fake nonprofit, put $100 in their account, and then Joe Biden and the criminal Democrats gave her $2 billion out of a $20 billion slush fund. And we're also supposed to say, as taxpayers in the United States of America, we're supposed to say, isn't that great? Stacey Abrams got a $2 billion taxpayer gift for a fake organization that had raised $100 and put that in their bank account. And then the Democrats came along and said, I have $2 billion. It's not our money. We just steal it and throw it away, give it to our friends, because we're the left, kind of a big thing. Now, let's get back to Luigi Mangione for a moment here, because Luigi Mangione is in court today, going to be in court today in New York, where he's facing murder and assassination charges and some other stuff, too. But I can't help but think about the Democrat Party. And, President Trump shot through the ear in Pennsylvania last year, a second, and that was a Democrat who was killed by a U.S. Secret Service counter sniper, one shot, one kill, and all that good stuff. And, so that story just went away in no time at all. That was a non-news story. January 6th, much worse than that. One racist cop shot and killed Ashley Babbitt on January 6th, the only fatality on January 6th. And a woman who served 12 years in the United States Air Force shot and killed for the alleged crime without warning. One shot, one kill there, too, by a U.S. Capitol police officer. who shot this woman who was laughing, I think. She's like, oh, isn't this wild? And then the cop shot and killed her. And the Democrats are still applauding that. And they're applauding Luigi Mangione. That was Lieutenant Byrd, I think, right? U.S. Capitol Police. And he got awards from Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats. Hey, nice shot, killing that unarmed white woman that served 12 years in the Air Force. She was possibly trespassing, hadn't been charged or tried for trespassing, but the death penalty for that, right? And the Democrats love that. They love the when the black cop, killed white woman. Now, if it had been a white cop who killed a black woman, well, then the Democrats would burn cities down from coast to coast. Just see, of course, their great hero, George Floyd of St. George of fentanyl. Amazing stuff. The Democrat Party is unwell and violent. And I can't help but be reminded, it was a Bernie Sanders campaign volunteer that shot and nearly killed Congressman Steve Scalise on a baseball field. In another suicide attack, he had to be gunned down to make him stop with his Chinese communist combat rifle, his SKS rifle, and shot and nearly killed Steve Scalise, wanted to mow down the whole Republican baseball team. Keeping in mind also that in the history of the United States, 4 U.S. presidents have been assassinated. Abraham Lincoln, the first Republican president, killed by a slavery-loving Democrat. John Wilkes Booth, of course. And President Garfield, killed in 1881, assassinated. He was a Republican. And then McKinley, William McKinley, there's a mountain named after him in Alaska again. And he was murdered, assassinated in 1901 by a Democrat. And then, of course, John F. Kennedy, he's the only Democrat that was shot and killed. And he was murdered by a communist. Either that and today's Democrats, look at Bernie Sanders and the rest of them. So they have a long history of political violence, the Democrat Party. And the commies, they're closer on the political spectrum today to Lee Harvey Oswald than they are to John F. Kennedy, the Democrat Party today. Also, other presidents shot. Teddy Roosevelt, Republican. Ronald Reagan, Republican. Donald Trump, Republican. Gerald Ford, Republican, shot at twice by 2 women. One of them a member of the Manson family, because, the Democrats love family, don't they? Well, the Manson family, anyway. They love the Manson family. Aren't they amazing? The Democrat Party ought to have earned a reputation by now. Also, suicide attacks on police in New York, officers Ramos and Liu, suicide attack, U.S. Capitol Police, Democrat, just like 2 years ago, no big deal. And that was Officer Billy Evans, who was murdered by automobile. And then the guy jumped out with a giant knife that he had just bought and attacked more police and was gunned down because it was another suicide attack by another murderous Democrat. But pay no attention to that. And, honestly, if these were all Republicans, I think every American would know every detail of this. It would be taught in grammar school. It would be part of every college course. Aren't they amazing? The Democrat Party. And Luigi Mangione is in court today, and the Democrats have raised more than $500,000 for him. There are going to be protesters outside the courthouse supporting him. The news media is supporting him. The Reuters news agency has a story that the company that the CEO worked for was bad, and they were robbing people, which kind of justifies Luigi Mangione's assassination, and that's what it was. It was a political assassination, no doubt about it. And the Democrat Party. Honestly, there is something terribly wrong with this party. And then there's the gender thing. And on CNN today, they had some gender issues, too, because Democrats, I'm not sure they should be allowed to drive cars or vote, fly on airplanes. They should all be on the no-fly list. Pretty amazing political party they've ginned up here. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Yes, sir. So I've got a lot of that coming up for you. And a lot of President Trump. President Trump very busy. And CPAC with Elon Musk had a giant chainsaw yesterday. We got Chinese espionage. The Democrats sleep with the Chinese espionagers, Fang and Dianne Feinstein and her driver in California. They love Chinese spies. Some of them date them. Honey Pot, Fang, all that good stuff. We got Hamas. They must be exterminated. L.A. fires and transgender Democrats coming up.
Why doesn't the government do something? That's what I'd like to know.
What can they do? They're only people, just like us.
People my foot. They're Democrats.
Hey, let's go back to the telephones then. Yeah, when do you hear all this crazy gender stuff and CNN and the news and the fires in Los Angeles? There's a transgender fire scourge. What do you hear about this? Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Jim, calling from the great state of Texas. Jimmy, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Great,
I love
Jim.
your show.
Thank you, buddy.
And I grew up in Chicago, too, on the south side.
No kidding. All right. Welcome.
Hey, so I spent 21 years in the military. I started off enlisted and then later became an officer. And I started during the Vietnam days. And, after the war, they reduced the force by, thousands and thousands because we weren't fighting a war anymore. So people were let go. And then during my tenure in the Air Force, we had different rifts because they didn't need all the troops they had. They had too many. As an officer, if you didn't make promotion, so this was merit-based at the time, if you got passed over twice, they usually kicked you out, made you separate. So it was all merit-based. I worked with a lot of civil service people in the Department of Defense. A lot of them were very good, but then you had some that were totally unqualified to be in the job they were in. And then later I went to work for Motorola. I survived 5 rifts at Motorola. I then went to work for Lockheed and then later GE, and we had rifts all the time. When they don't need the people, that they're a business, they have to get rid of them because they can't afford the payroll. But with our government, with these politicians, it's like, no, it's our money. It's not their money, so they don't care. And the biggest way to reduce the budget is to get these people off of jobs to pay pensions and reduce that force. So I don't, all this, and the Republicans have to keep hitting these Democrats on why are you defending keeping people who aren't producing? Why are you defending wasting money on all these things? They just have to keep hammering it and hammering it.
Well, and we're $36 trillion in debt because of the casual, largely Democrat, but also Republican Party approach to all this spending. And God bless you, saluting you, Mustang.